All right, you guys, we're gonna give a few more minutes because we got people jumping in. And just as we get started, a couple of housekeeping. Remember, if you are on the call today and dressed appropriately, please turn your boxes on so we can see your faces. We love to see our KW family, and it's a lot more fun for us to do this when we actually get to see you. Also, feel free to drop anything and everything, well, not everything, some things that are valuable content and questions into the chat box so we can address any questions you have and learn and grow together. So, all right, Katie, how are we doing on those numbers?
We are doing good. Two more coming in. Okay, let's get started.
Let's do this thing. All right, you guys, welcome. It is, oh my gosh, March 9th, if you can believe it. So this is our monthly State of the Industry. Before we get started today, this is kind of odd for some of you, but you're going to find out why we're doing this in the next slide. We wanted to just take a brief moment to introduce ourselves and reintroduce ourselves of who we are hosting our State of the Industry event. So of course, I am Leslie Hilbert. I'm the general manager of the Xperience Brokerage Network, which of course encompasses our amazing 4 market centers across the state of Oregon. And of course, I am joined today with my partner, Miss Katie. So tell me, Katie, introduce yourself.
Well, I'm Katie Hardman, and I am the COO, which is Chief Opportunity Officer for the Xperience Brokerage Network, which means that I am here to bring opportunities to your market center, your business, your life in the form of training, mastermind, presenters, partners, all the things. So I'm excited to be here with Leslie and all of you.
All the things, that sums up pretty good. All of the things. She brings the magic. So why did we start off with that? Well, we are going to start today with some pretty cool announcements. Then we've got some really awesome opportunities we're going to go through. We've got some incredible speakers and some ahas from some big events. So let's start with the first big announcement. Here it goes. In the first 60 days of 2022, we welcomed 68 new Xperience Brokerage Network family members across the state of Oregon. So of course, that is why we took a minute to slow down, introduce ourselves, because as you can see, we have lots and lots of new faces. So hopefully you've gotten to meet them locally in your market centers. Those are just some of the photos, but all 68 of our names, and our family continues to grow, right, Katie?
That's right. We've got, I think, 5 more coming in this week. So we're excited to welcome everybody.
So please make sure that you say hello, give them a wave, welcome them on social media, give them a high five in the hallways, and of course, look for them at all of our events. All right, Katie, so let's celebrate a few of our other family members. So we're going to welcome some of our team leader CEOs from across the state to tell us how February turned out, right? And who our top producers are. So we have those slides are slow, Katie.
I know there's a lot of them today.
That
We're getting a lot of content.
So, all right, you guys, let's call it out. So Miss Kay Ree from our team leader from Southern Oregon, who do we get to recognize in our solo category?
Hi guys, well, I'm super excited to recognize these solo agents in the Xperience Brokerage Network. So Josh Kelleher with 8 units, Pam Dietz with 5 units, A.D. Smith had 4, Aubrey Martin 4, Byron Pardo 4, Darcy Clark 4, Heather Wright 4. Gosh, what a long list. This is awesome. John Duncan 4, Linda Reed 4, Nate Sanford 4, and Rebecca Marsh. And I'm so excited to see a lot of our Southern Oregon agents in that list. Woohoo!
A 9-way tie. I think that's the first time that's ever happened.
That's pretty amazing. Those are great numbers, guys.
Awesome. All right, moving on to our team category. Mike, our team leader in Eugene, who do we got?
Yeah, good morning, network. We have the Cornerstone team with 6 units. We have the Ben V. Mondragon Incorporated team. He's also a bank president with that name, of course, with just kidding, with 3 units. The Cornerstone Real Estate team with 3 units. The Karen D. Dunn team with 3. The Kristen Rader Group with 3 units. And Sarah Hesselman team with 3 units as well. Great job, teams.
Another impressive 5-way tie. We like it. All right, let's talk about groups. Jake Norman out of Sunset Corridor. Who do we got?
All right, so at the top of our list in February for closed units was PDX Property Group. Congratulations on that big number 14. We've got Benson Broker Group coming in at number 2 with 13, so it was pretty tight. Number 3 is Darcy coming in at 10. The Lopez Estate Group at 7. Josh Cooley team at 6. And the Property Brokers also at 6. Congratulations all.
Congrats to all. Okay, well, that's the units. Let's talk volume closed in a single month. So let's start again. Kay Reed out of Southern Oregon. Who are we going to recognize in solo?
All right, our solo closed volume agents are Pam Dietz, Josh Kelleher, Heather Wright, Rebecca Marsh, and Logan Garretts. I hope I said that right. You guys, look at those numbers for solo volume. Off the charts. Great job.
All right, moving on to teams.
Yes, our teams, Ben Mondragon team, Cornerstone team, the Sarah Hesselman team, Kristen Rader Group, and Sold by Jen. Great job, everyone.
Right, and now we roll into groups. So groups, again, number 1, PDX Property Group, almost 7.5 million closed volume. Darcy coming in at number 2. Benson Broker Group, number 3. Josh Cooley team, number 4. And then closing out the top 5, Arc Realty. Congrats, Noah and Heather.
Awesome. That's just a whole lot of awesome, Katie.
It is a whole lot of awesome. And I love to celebrate this group every month. And I love to see the little bit of like rivalry and competition because these numbers were very different last month. So great job on some new people on the list.
I love it. All right. So what else do we got going up? What are the opportunities that our agents can take advantage of coming up?
This is why the O is opportunities, because I get to be the fun person that gets to talk about all these things. We still have a few tickets, just a few, but we do have a few tickets for tomorrow's Master Series event. You guys, it's going to be the most powerful day. So if you are available and want some breakfast and lunch and want to be inspired by some amazing keynote speakers and some amazing agents who are living their best life through real estate, sign up. We'll put the link in the chat for tomorrow's Master Series event. It's at the Embassy Suites in Portland, the Washington Square location. So come and join us. And I didn't even think about this, but there's free food, which I feel like is always a bonus. So that's why I'm saying that twice, as somebody's like, you got to talk about the breakfast and lunch. So come for the speakers, also enjoy the breakfast and lunch.
And Katie, can I take a second? For those of you guys who've been to a Master Series event in the past, right? Gosh, now 2 years ago, this is a very different event because not only do we have the speaker presenters, we have a killer top agent panel that we announced yesterday. Katie, who do we have on that panel?
Oh my goodness, I am so excited. We have 4 agents. So Arc Realty, which is Noah and Heather Kragerud, are going to be on that panel. Jesse Dill and Darcy from the Darcy Real Estate Group are all going to tell us how not only are they killing it in real estate, you see their names on the top agents, but also how it's afforded them the ability to do some cool things in their life.
And then we're going to wrap up the day with 2 really cool things that we haven't done in the past. Is we're going to do a mastermind at the end and then a social and networking happy hour, right?
Yes. I like that you call it a social and networking happy hour. we tried to come up with a really fun title for it, and you just included all of them. So yes, if you want to come and network with agents from across Oregon, definitely stay till the end, because there will be an hour at the end to talk and network with everybody.
Awesome. Can't wait to see everybody tomorrow. What else do we got going on, Katie?
So we're just going to roll from one event to the next, because after we're done with the master series, you're going to see your market center turn purple, because we are bringing Bold in 2 locations starting in March. So Portland Metro Bold launch is going to be March 31st, and it's going to be consecutive Thursdays for the next 7 weeks with a break for 1 week. And then Eugene's Bold launch is the following Monday. I believe that's April 14th. I could, if I'm wrong on that, Tanya, let me know. But we're excited.
No, we start the same week. We start the same week. So the Monday, that same Monday.
Oh, okay. So the week of March 31st, that Monday, is going to be the same day for the Bold launch in Eugene. So if you are feeling like you need some motivation or want to take your business to the next level, this is a great opportunity to be surrounded by highly productive agents and kick it into the next gear.
And they can already sign up now for the free first step, as well as the event is live to sign up for the full Bold for those people who are ready to make that commitment, right, Katie?
That's right. And you should have been seeing emails from your market center with the links to the specific Bold that's closest to you.
Awesome.
Okay. And this, you guys, we so love your feedback. So we know what opportunities and what things we can bring to you that is actual value to you and your business. If we don't hear from you, then we guess. And I don't want to do that. I would rather know what is value and what opportunities look like for you. So you're going to get an email. Well, you should have already gotten one email, and it's called an Energage survey. It's completely anonymous, but it just lets us know how we're doing and what else you would like to see from the network. It also helps us in going for some cool opportunities with the Oregon or the Oregonian. So if you get an email that looks like this, the subject is your Xperience Brokerage Network Employee Survey. I know we're not employees, but that is what it'll say. Don't disregard it. It's the survey that helps us be better for you. And this is what the body of the email will look like. You click on the link, it'll take like 5 minutes to complete. It's on a scale of 1 to 10. How do you feel about these different categories? And then it helps us be better for you. So please take the survey. You'll get another email next week if you missed the first email last week. So be on the lookout for Energage survey.
And Katie, it's going to come several times. And for those of you who are like, I don't want this in my inbox, there's one easy way to stop it from coming to you.
Take it.
Just take it. Just take it and the emails will stop. So please help us help you. We're really excited to get your feedback again this year.
Okay,
All right.
well, now we've kind of teased that, well, one, this is called the state of the industry, right? So we should probably talk about the industry, and we're talking a lot about the industry today because Chris is bringing some really current numbers to us on what's going on in the industry right now and give us some economic updates. And then I'll be back to give a recap of Gary Keller's vision speech. So Chris, give us the deets. Tell us what's going on.
If you stop sharing, I will begin to share. Thank you. So we believe in partnerships, obviously, and that powerful partnerships make all of us better. So many of you know that one of our partners in our business and here at the network is Goldman Sachs, through a relationship I have with them. And one of the things that they really do incredibly well, and in fact, I believe the best in our industry, is really just provide data. So we're gonna be going through some data actually that they sent me just a couple weeks ago. So this data is they probably have few hundred people that focus just on real estate data in the country. They sort of put this monthly report together. They send it to me. I have a call with one of their economists every single month as well, as we're one of their portfolio companies, and their goal is to help us stay informed. And my goal is to help our network stay informed. And so I'm bringing this data to you. Now, one caveat, and this is always tricky when sharing screen because I can't control everything that everybody does. This data can't be shared. So I'm sharing it with you, but please don't screenshot it and post it everywhere, because you know how that chatter web is. It'll come back and it'll be like, hey, the one guy that had it is you, Chris. So I'm sharing this as partners with you, not so much for you to share. However, one of the things that we're also doing is working on taking this data, packaging it in a way that looks different and is actually more readable for our customers and our clients, and then being able to deliver touches to our database. So you will see that rolling out this year, which will give you a competitive advantage as well in the marketplace for buyers, sellers, investors, and your past clients. So let's take a look at what are the few things that we should care about. My goal here is to give you some data and then maybe point out where it might be able to be used with our clients and why should we care. Maybe the first or most important number as we begin to see this shift and change right now is housing affordability. As you'll see, their economists have pointed out, and they actually have a Goldman Sachs, what they call their HAI, or the Housing Affordability Index. Every single year, they track this month over month over month, and then they actually make calls around what should we be aware of and what else might move with that affordability index based on history. What they've shared is that that index suggests that monthly mortgage payments for a median priced home as a percentage of median household income is higher in 2021 than 2020. Good, we knew that. But when compared to 1997 to 2011, it is actually lower. And that's not a bad number to bring up as well, as we look at comparing how is affordability today versus a different decade or different periods of time, and what should we do with that data, which we will talk about in just a minute. So moving through it, you'll see there are three graphs here that I want you to care about. The first one is their expectation of price appreciation. Like, what do we think is going to happen with price increase or decrease over the coming year? They will give you next year, and they'll give you the year after that. So you see their estimate for 2022 is that we'll see probably an 8 to 9% appreciation rate in housing over the coming year. Again, this is their economist. You're going to see different numbers from different sources. They go out and look at all those sources as well, and their economists say, hey, we'll probably see about a 9% across the country. They believe that by 2023, we will actually dip below what the typical trend line is. We'll probably be in that 4%, below what the trend line has been, which is kind of closer to 5 right now as we look at a 30-year trend line. But about 9% this year, maybe 4% in 2023 in terms of housing appreciation, which obviously then leads to affordability as well. When you look at the affordability, it is lower than it has been since 2008. Like, we looked at those numbers from before 2008, and we're ahead of affordability from that point in time, but we're definitely seeing affordability drop as prices continue to go up, and all of a sudden interest rates have gone up as well. In fact, I got some data too late to include, meaning I got it this morning, but they've actually revised what they think the interest rates will end at by 2022, up by about 0.4%, and up again in 2023 by about 0.5% from what they thought even just about a month and a half or 2 months ago. So that absolutely will affect affordability also. And then just the other thing that drives pricing, right? Affordability drives pricing, but obviously supply drives pricing as well. And so you'll see this graph here, supply of existing single family homes remains low. What you'll see is that for those of you who can't read that screen because it's really small, I have my glasses on, you may not, but that dark blue line is month's supply of existing single family homes across the country. that continues to be an issue. And then the light blue line is new single family homes. So existing, resale, and then new. So you'll actually see we saw sort of this tick up in 2021 of new. We saw it drop towards the end of the year. That's sort of the cycle of building, and now it's on its way back up here as we started 2022 for new construction. Two graphs on this page that I wanted to share, and by sort of way of analysis, they sent me about 36 pages of data. I've pared it down to about 7, and we're only looking at maybe 1 or 2 data points per page here. But I like this one, Exhibit 11, housing versus rental affordability, and that's because that shifts decision making, right? When there's this big gap between buying and selling, people buy if it's better to buy, people rent if it's better to rent. Well, right now, when you look at the affordability of the actual renter, right, to get into a rental versus buying and what your typical housing payment would be, clearly we have sort of converged. That the housing or the mortgage payment is becoming less and less affordable as you look at the last year and a half, whereas rental rates actually dipped. They went back up a little bit, and now they're sort of normalizing or stabilizing. So we've sort of converged. Be ready to have those conversations. People will want to have those conversations with you, and knowing what that looks like is important. Jumping over to Exhibit 13, housing sales growth is staying strong. So this is just the number of units, right, that we're moving, right, month over month from a previous year. So is it up? Is it down? What is the rate of sale if we sold that number of homes every single month, right, for the rest of the year? So we saw that drop a little bit. That was largely due to just inventory levels. There weren't enough homes to actually go and close, even though the demand was there. And then we've seen that tick back up here. That was that kind of weird December, January, and there was this sort of conversation of, gosh, are we sort of leveling out? What's going on in the market? Is it as busy? Those of you who attend our masterminds, hopefully all of you, but those of you who attend our monthly masterminds or bi-weekly masterminds, we're having some discussions, and then all of a sudden, February showed up and we were back to multiple offers and a lot of moving inventory. So that is demonstrated there in Exhibit 13. 18, supply of homes listed for sale has hit a 30-year low. So again, this is total homes listed for sale. We're at just over 1 month of supply at this moment in time, right? This is a snapshot from last month. We ended last month, the end month of February, with just over 1 month supply of single family homes. That takes out condominiums, that takes out, right, some other units, but single family homes, that's what we're working with. And so that's a good data point as buyers say, well, gosh, I don't know, maybe we're headed for a cliff. Understand, we will not see a countrywide cliff with 1 month of inventory with single family homes on the market. And then this is the other data point, and we're gonna go through this a little bit more in detail in just a minute, but wow, the share of loans in foreclosure is at a multi-decade low. So there's been a lot of people saying, well, REOs are coming back, distressed sales are going to be here. Most of those are people that built their business on REOs and distressed sales, and they can hope and they can pray. But unfortunately, fortunately for us, when you look at, unfortunately for those that want those REOs, but fortunately for us, when you look at that mortgage foreclosure rate, it is a multi-decade low. Less than 0.5% of all loans are in foreclosure at this moment in time. So real health with the collateral that's out there, right? With the mortgages that are out there. Home ownership rates have picked up over the past year. We love that, right? We're in the business of providing home ownership to everyone everywhere, right? That is the gift that we get to give in our industry. Exhibit 25. Household formation has actually steadied, but remains above trend. So keep that in mind, right? We began to see an uptick in household formation. That means people were finally leaving their parents' home. That means people were graduating from college and going out on their own. That means it was household formation. People were getting married and starting a new home, or just leaving where they were raised. So we've seen that. That year over year average is the light blue line. We saw that drop, obviously, during pandemic. People weren't going out and starting, right? Like, hey, let's go find a place to live. But we saw that pick up as people got more and more comfortable. And now it's kind of matched the 3-year moving average for household formation. Rental vacancies are at a 30-year low. Interesting that they're at a 30-year low, and we haven't seen, I know we did, right, a couple of years ago, but we've seen that rental rate or the cost of rent actually level out. And that has a lot to do with how many units we were bringing to the market as well. So we've kind of met that demand pretty well. If we didn't, we would see those rental rates dropping. And then home ownership rate right there. We have, as a year, across the year, we saw an increase. Over the last couple of quarters, we've seen a decrease, but that's only because household formation has happened and home ownership hasn't just kept up. A lot of those people that started a household went into short-term rentals or long-term rentals while they look for a house. Couple more and then I'll be done. The share of U.S. mortgage borrowers. This one's an important one for us to be able to answer that question of what do we think is going to happen with the market, how are values, what's the strength of the market. I think there's some value in each one of these 4 graphs. If you're looking for just a quick number, Exhibit 42, share of U.S. mortgage borrowers in a forbearance plan. You saw those forbearances show up, right? In March 2020, they truly saved so many American households and families. You saw that almost 9% of mortgages were in forbearance at the peak. And yet it has been a steady decline of mortgages coming out of forbearance, people getting caught up, people going back into their normal payments as sort of the economy stabilized and jobs showed back up. And obviously now we have a worker shortage, not a job shortage in our country. We're just about 2% of loans still in forbearance across the country. Percentage of mortgages with negative equity. Some of us were around in 2011, and sometimes we forget, but 25% of mortgages were underwater. They had negative equity. 1 out of every 4 homes on your street had negative equity. We are down to 3%. 3% of mortgages have negative equity at this point in time. Amazing, right? Amazing health in wealth being built in real estate. Housing and stock market equity. So here's an interesting graph right here, Exhibit 44 in the bottom left-hand corner. The dark blue line is homeowners' equity in real estate, and the light blue line is the market value of what they have in the stock market. So you saw like 2020, remember that day? Or maybe I should say that week when everybody lost equity in their stock, and then look at what happened between 2020, 2021. We've seen that drop more recently. So you can see this is clearly recent data, but incredible equity, right? This is in the trillions. Americans have about over $25 trillion built in their home, and over about $30 trillion built in equities and stock. And that's why so much of that stock we will begin to see potentially pulled out and put more and more into real estate. So the real estate market lives strong in 2022 and 2023 for sure. Exhibit 45, almost 40% of finance originations are cash out transactions. Now, should that concern us? I don't think so. Much of that is money that was or equity that had been built, but I just felt that was an interesting number to watch. We should continue to watch that as well. Some people were able to get through losing a job or not working because of their equity. But that has slowed. I think the last number was we've seen a 70% decline in cash out refis. If the money was there, some of it has been taken, and obviously some of that was interest rate driven as well. Last one, and this is just the household balance sheet. And I think that this is important for us to understand the health of our consumer and the country and how that plays out in real estate. Exhibit 35, the debt to income ratio across the country. You'll see that has which is that light blue line, that has dropped. It's picked up more recently. as people have actually gone out and bought homes and taken on debt and gone out and bought cars, and we've seen that happen, but still relatively a safe number. The delinquency rate across all debts, you'll see the dark blue line is mortgage. You see it way down at the bottom, right here, here in this bottom left graph. This is a delinquency rate across all types of debt. This one, mortgage, light blue is home equity line, like delinquency rate, and you'll see we're like 0.5%, 0.8% on anything related to housing. We're actually at lows as well. We've seen delinquencies dropping in student loan, auto loan, and credit card debt as well. So good economic health across our country. None of those numbers have trended up even recently. And then this last one, financial obligations relative to incomes staying low by historical standards as well. So I share these graphs, and Katie, I'm going to stop sharing, but I share this data for us to sort of just have an overall understanding of where are we today. So much of our real estate data through NAR comes months later, right? Because we're waiting for MLSs to provide the data to NAR and then NAR to compile it. But this is as of the end of February data. So looking at the where our wealth is, home ownership, interest rates, affordability, delinquency rates, debt rates, all of that will inventory, all of that should give us some data and some conversation around how do we consult and how do we advise buyers in this market and sellers in this market as well.
That was a lot of really good information. I hope everybody was taking notes and nobody was taking screenshots, that we absorbed that. And I want to take a minute. We're going to stop the economic conversation for a second because we're going to go back to it. But Leslie, do you want to announce our next speaker? Who's going to announce our next speaker?
Yeah, because we promised you today a presentation full of market updates, industry updates, and opportunities. So we're going to transition to an opportunity conversation. And as many of you guys know, that in the past year, we added a very important letter to our value systems in the Y4C2TEs, which was equity and opportunity for all. And what I love, I just took a little quote out of what Chris said was, we are in the business of providing home ownership to everyone and everywhere. So I'm going to welcome to the call our Regional Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Ambassador, as well as the Oregon Realtors Diversity Committee Vice Chair, to kind of give us some updates and introduce our next speaker, Ms. Latasha Beal.
Good to see you, Xperience family. I hope we're all doing amazing on this sunny Wednesday. I am so excited to announce one of my partners in crime, Shail Reuter, the Education and Outreach Director at the Fair Housing Council of Oregon. She is going to drop some knowledge on us this morning, a little bit more information about fair housing, so that you can take that back, sit with it a little bit, maybe share it with some colleagues. So a little bit about Shail. Prior to her work at the Fair Housing Council, she worked in HIV/AIDS services for 19 years. 14 of those were specifically focused on housing services for people living with HIV/AIDS. And so as part of that work, she taught about fair housing and has been doing so since 2001. She is an amazing force in the space, and I'm excited for her to be on this call. Shail, are you there?
I am here. Thank you for the wonderful introduction, Latasha. Yeah, I'm so happy to be here to be able to talk to all of you about fair housing, what it is that we do at the Fair Housing Council of Oregon, and also how you can be part of creating a more equitable Oregon. So our organization, what we do, we proactively promote housing justice, equity, and inclusion. And how we do that, our mission is to end illegal housing discrimination through education. So I'm the Education Outreach Director. And when I say education, I mean, we're literally educating everybody across the board. We're educating consumers that might be experiencing housing discrimination in the rental or the home buying process. We're educating housing advocates, so maybe caseworkers, social workers, and organizations that hear about housing discrimination happening. We're educating housing providers like landlords, housing authorities, nonprofit housing providers, realtors also. We really embrace the role that you all have in helping to create more housing justice, equity, and inclusion. And then we're also educating lawmakers, so those policymakers, those decision makers. And I have educators actually throughout the state of Oregon. When I started at the Fair Housing Council of Oregon about 5.5 years ago, we were a staff of 10. Now we're a staff of over 25 people. So we've grown quite a bit, and most of that growth has been within the last year or so. So I have educators in Southern Oregon, Eastern Oregon, the Northern Central Coastal region, the Mid-Willamette Valley, the Bend area, the Portland metro area as well. So we have educators all the way across the state. So if you are interested in actually having a fair housing presentation at your specific brokerage, I would hope that you would reach out to us. We also do public policy work. That's a new department that we've added. And we also do enforcement of fair housing. So part of why we embrace your role is that you have direct contact with people within the housing transactions where you are likely seeing some discrimination, and you may be privy to discrimination and not even be aware that it happens. So fair housing laws, what those are, they're civil rights laws that are very specific to housing. So when we think civil rights, we think, I shouldn't be treated differently because of the color of my skin, or because of the country that I'm from, or because of my religion, or because of my sex, because of a family with kids. So fair housing is that same set of laws, but applied specifically to housing. We very recently have been working on getting more of a grasp as far as what housing discrimination looks like in the real estate industry. So we did a focus group with realtors who had a very fantastic and frank conversation with us about this is what discrimination looks like. And we found that not only is it, people of color or people of specific national origins being steered towards specific zip codes, not being given equal housing opportunity, being shown what is actually available, but it's also that realtors of color are also experiencing housing discrimination. One of the comments that came up that was really helpful for us was that, what we find about discrimination is, sometimes it's really obvious and it's really evident, like I'm not going to sell my home to X, Y, or Z, right? That becomes really obvious. I was doing a presentation for a realtors group in Southern Oregon, and one of the realtors shared, the homeowners association president told me that he didn't want me to sell this unit to any family that had kids or anybody that had an assistance animal for a disability. So right there, that's two protected classes. So the thing is that sometimes discrimination is really that obvious. Sometimes it's not so obvious. So for example, let's say that you're helping somebody buy a home and the selling agent says, tell me about your buyer. Tell me about your buyer. Think about how you would answer that, because likely how you would answer that would have something to do with, are they a family with kids? Are they married? Are they single? Where is it that they work, which might disclose a lot of information? Are they a person living with disabilities? What is it that you would share? Because likely it's going to fall under one of those protected groups, and therefore becomes information that somebody can discriminate on. So thinking about that, you actually have a really good opportunity to be an advocate for change. You can say, I am able to share information with you that does not disclose protected class status. So I'm able to share information with you about the loan. I'm able to share information with you about, what's their down payment, those kinds of things. But getting too far into the identity becomes really problematic, because that information could be used to discriminate. That seller thinking, I don't want to sell to those kinds of people or that kind of a person. Well, who is those kinds of people? Who is that kind of a person? Likely it's protected class status. So if you ever wonder if something is housing discrimination or not, and you want to run it by somebody, you can always reach out to us. A really great way to get a hold of us is to email us at information@fhco.org. And I'm putting that into the chat right now. So please feel free to reach out. Now, those other focus groups that we ran also with to try to find out what housing discrimination looked like, we talked to organizations that have home buyer programs. We also talked to consumers that are buying homes, and we had a session in English and also in Spanish. And so what I'll tell you, one of the things that we were finding is that people of color, people of national origin other than the United States are oftentimes shown housing that is substandard. They're steered towards specific zip codes. They're not given equal opportunity for what their offer, what money they're bringing behind them could actually get. So these are all things to think about. What I'll also say is we are doing a lot of work to engage and get this information into home buyers' hands. We're currently working on creating a guidebook for home buyers to understand what housing discrimination looks like. So we would love it if when we have that guidebook done, that maybe I could come back for 5 minutes and say, hey, we've got this guidebook. And if it's something that you might consider including in your packet of paperwork that you give to the home buyer when you're meeting with them for the first time. I've bought several homes and I know you have all of those great bags with all that great swag in it and information. We would love to have some of our information included in that because we really embrace that you can help us get this information where it needs to get to. And we really embrace that you can be an agent for change. I think that's my 10 minutes.
Thank you so much, Shail. That's so much information. She did drop her email in the chat. So if you have questions or you want to partner with her to bring that, because she can bring a lot of information directly to your market center. So you can ask specific questions and, really mastermind around how we can be actively engaged in not discriminating for our clients and challenging our colleagues when we hear them saying things, hey, that's a violation of fair housing. So I just always like to encourage and empower you to be a part of the plan that eliminates housing discrimination. And we do that by not participating in those conversations and just being that light. So thank you, Shail.
Thank you, Latasha.
I'll hand it back to you, Leslie and Katie.
Katie, that was awesome. I feel like this might be my favorite state of the industry so far. And we're not done. We are going to kind of transition back to some more market conversations, more industry updates, and some big announcements out of Family Reunion. So Katie, we're going to start with you. What are some of the biggest things that came out of Family Reunion?
Well, first of all, does anybody feel like Family Reunion was 6 months ago? And it was only like a week and a half or 2 weeks ago. Leslie, I know you and I were talking about this. We went back and watched some of the sessions. If you paid for a digital ticket, you have that content until mid-April, end of April-ish. So I highly encourage everybody to go back and re-listen, because even just, I'm going to go over the vision speech, even just listening to that again, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that information. And so much has changed in our world since then, that thank goodness I forgot about some of that information. But I want to say that this family reunion was unlike any family reunion in the past. Like I felt like we've kind of made a pivot in our business, which we haven't had a family reunion live in years. And so we've come back with renewed energy, and Keller Williams is putting out some really cool things for us. One of them being, there was my prompt slide, Capstone Insurance. And we're actually going to have a representative from Capstone speak next State of the Industry, so that we can just roll on with family reunion content every month. But here, Leslie, I know you spoke with them. Do you have any details or what to expect for next month's presentation?
Yeah, so first of all, this is up and active right now. So our agents can start accessing this portal, and essentially what you just go to kwperks.com and you can check out their full suite of insurance products. And this is what they're estimating could save you up to 40% off of the Stride platform that we have with KW, or just the .gov platforms. So go on and check this out. This is specifically designed for our agents, our independent contractors, to give them other alternatives. And it's more than just health insurance. They actually do healthcare solutions, supplemental health benefits, dental vision, long-term disability, whole life insurance, identity theft protection, and cybersecurity protection. It's super easy. You can go ahead and very quickly, within like 2 minutes, just fill out that thing and it gives you an instant quote. I would say don't stop there, because the instant quote doesn't go into the details that it's a comprehensive plan that includes healthcare, vision, and dental. So stay tuned for more information. But if you are somebody that is looking for a solution today, just go to kwperks.com and you can get started with activating your health insurance plan.
Perfect. Okay. Now I pulled out some of the biggest slides from Gary Keller's vision speech and some of his notes. You can share these slides. So take screenshots. We'll give you this presentation afterwards. Don't feel bad if you're getting this information out. That's the purpose of these slides specifically, is you can use them. So I'm going to talk specifically, or the slides I pulled out were around the numbers that drive US real estate. And it's 5 categories. And anytime you're looking at economic data, I would look for things on these 5 categories because they drive real estate. So it's home sales, home prices, month supply of inventory, mortgage rates, and affordability. All things Chris talked about, right? So we're going to dive deep into a couple of these, and I will start with home sales. And Chris did a great job talking about this data. And so I'll just touch on a few points. One being that when economists look at data, and when they're looking at this information, they're looking for trends. They're looking for predictions of what could happen again. So when we look at this information, the story to be told is that 2021 was the second most sales ever on record. So that's just a good note for us to know. Last year was the second most sales ever on record. And Jay Papazan made a cute comment. He said, people also worked harder than ever to make that happen. Did anybody feel that way? Like it was hard to make that happen. But what I want you to focus on for this graph is the light blue. So from 02 to 06, and then 18 to 22. So you'll notice that if we hit our projections for 2022, we'll match the greatest time period in American real estate history, which is awesome. And we know what happened right after that. So not to scare anybody, because a lot has changed in the industry since the 02 to 06 time period. And Jay said a good point about this. He said the fundamentals have changed since then, but just note that there's a pattern, there's a trend there. Now, if we go on to home prices, this isn't a new story. This is the same, like you can see year after year after year after year, we've said the exact same thing. The yellow line is that long-term average of 4%. What I would note here is that if we were to hit that long-term average, our median price should be $343,000. However, we beat that in 2021, and the expectation or the prediction is that we'll beat that and be at $378,000 in 2022. And like Chris was saying, the prediction is that we'll see a 9% increase. And the chief economist for Keller Williams made a good point, and I wrote it down word for word so I could tell you guys exactly what he said, because I thought this was just interesting for perspective for the future. He said, if we get the projections we're looking at next year, which is about 9% increase, it would take about 7 years at a 2 to 3% appreciation per year, so much lower than we're seeing, to get back down to the trend line. There was a big theme in this presentation about, are we seeing a bubble? Are we blowing a bubble? What do we do about this? And it came up again and again, and we'll get into this when we talk about the economy, but the government can throttle some of this. And so I wouldn't get too concerned about a bubble because there are some regulations in place now that can throttle some of these numbers and inflation and things like that. So one other slide on home prices. I love this one. Again, trends. So if we look at 1990 to 2000, you'll see that we're staying in alignment with that average appreciation trend line, that 4%. Then 01 to 05, we doubled that number, but then 06 to 2011, can we say we completely fell off the map? The map had to go below to show those numbers. And then 2012 to 2019, we got back and again above that trend line. And now we've almost doubled that again. Interesting, right? Gary said, at some point, something has to happen. Something always happens. And this is what we talk about when we talk about the government throttling that inflation and helping with those numbers. And so just something to be aware of. Inventory. Chris talked about this one, right? We know this story. This is not a new story. In December 2021, we all said the same thing. It's historical low of inventory. And what I would say about that is, yes, that is true. And that's why it feels so hard. And we hear on Facebook or see on Facebook that story, that scarcity mentality, which works for a certain type of consumer, right? Like if we're trying to get people to move quickly, that's a story we can tell. However, the thing I want you to hear is that, and this is what Gary said, in order to sell 6.1 million homes last year, you had to have 6.1 million homes to sell. So it's not that there wasn't inventory, it's just that there were instant sales. The velocity of sales was unheard of. So just perspective, depending on what client you're talking to, whether it's a buyer or a seller or what the mood of the room is, there's two stories to be told there. Yes, there is extremely low inventory. It's a great time to sell. And for that client that's coming from a place of scarcity or fear, there's also the story that 6.1 million homes sold. So there were 6.1 million homes to sell. They're just selling very fast. Mortgage rates, I'm not going to go into this one. Chris did a really good job. The only thing I would point out, or the only thing that they said that I thought was a good point and has shown up since they gave this presentation 2 weeks ago, is that this is a moving target, and everything that's happening in the US says that rates would go up. It's everything happening outside of the US, other parts of the world, that are pushing treasuries back down. So this one's a hard one to predict. And again, that's why we look to the economists to give us perspective on trends and other things like that. Okay, affordability. I love this one. And this is one that I would screenshot or take from the recording or the slides that we're going to send out and share this. Put this in your buyer's presentation, because the long-term average, so 20% of someone's mortgage or of their income historically is spent on their mortgage. And in 2021, we were at 16%. So homes are still affordable. I will say that this is an average across all demographics. And if you look at the first-time home buyer, this number is low. The typical first-time home buyer is looking at about 24% of their income is spent on their mortgage. They also have a higher debt ratio because a lot of them have other types of loans, student loans and things like this. So I would definitely pull this slide out and use it in your presentations to show that, yes, there is appreciation. Yes, home prices are going up and it's still very affordable as in terms of the long-term average. Not much to say. I feel like I've told this story a million times. The GDP. So now we're getting into a little bit of US economy, but the GDP, the number that economists are always looking for is 2. So 5.7 is very healthy. And this is goods and services that we're selling at any period. So healthy market here. Unemployment is same story. We know what happened with COVID and with unemployment rising and spiking. The big story here is we've still got 2 million people who haven't come back into the workforce. So that's where that number could change, or that's why it's still a little high. Okay, 2 more slides and then I am done. So inflation or income by sector. The reason this slide was important, and I love the way Gary said that, he said, we sell homes to people that can afford them. So who should you be going after? Who can afford homes? And this is monthly wages. So those dollar figures are monthly wages. So, I would use this slide internally to say, okay, if I'm going to go after a new market, then, or sorry, not monthly wages, weekly wages. I was thinking to myself, gosh, that's really low, Katie. Weekly wages. So I would use this internally to say, okay, if I'm going to go after a new sector or add a new lead gen lever, where do I want to focus my efforts? And then the last slide, the one that I think we all took a screenshot of and have shared, I've seen it on social media a ton, is this slide on inflation. So the story here, and the story that I would pull this one out, put in your presentations, put on social media, use it over and over and over again, is in 1989, the price of a car, for example, was $15,000. In 2021, it's $46,000. Yet if we adjust for inflation, it should be $35,000. So we're 30% above that long-term average 4% increase year over year. So you'll see cars are higher than that in that predicted inflation number. Gas is higher. Prices of homes are higher, but the kicker here, mortgages are lower. So it is affordable to buy a home based on inflation. And if we would have gone through all the slides, one of the reasons there is interest rates, right? If you look back at 1989 interest rates, Gary always says he started in market with a 17% interest rate, and we're still historically low. So I love this slide to just give perspective to clients about buying. And use these in your presentation. We'll send out the slides. Anybody have any questions or ahas around this?
Katie, a couple of people have sent me personal messages about the slide. So just to kind of give you guys an update, some of you guys saw the slide, know that you can go back and watch Gary's full vision speech, which is a powerful 2.5 hours of content on the Fanry Learning platform. It'll be available till April 25th. Now, oddly, they have not yet released the full slide deck of his vision speech yet. So what we did was capture the key slides to present to you today. We will be sharing those in our wrap-up email, and stay tuned for the full slide deck. So that just answered some of those questions that was coming in, Katie.
Perfect. Thank you. I've not checked the chat. So I appreciate you grabbing those questions. And I noticed it's 9:59. So we have stayed on track, and I want to respect everybody's time and get everyone back or into their next meeting on time. So thank you everyone for attending our State of the Industry today. I hope I see so many of you tomorrow at the Master Series event. Grab the link if you still want to sign up. There's still a few tickets, and we will get these slides out to you very, very quickly so you can use them. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye, everyone.
Thank you all. Bye.